Welcome to CLSI Podcast Beyond the Game, where mental wellness competes. This is where performance and mental health meet real talk. I'm your host, Philip Reynolds, LCSW. We are here to close the resilience gap, that space between push through and break down. So let me start with our mental health disclaimer. This podcast is provided for informational and educational purposes only. The podcast does not provide medical, psychological, or clinical advice and is not a substitute for professional diagnosis, treatment, or therapy. Statements made by guests reflect personal experiences and do not necessarily represent the views of the podcast. Listeners are encouraged to seek appropriate professional support for mental health or medical concerns. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, please contact a licensed professional or emergency services in your area. So we are excited today to have with us Mr. Marcus Smith II. Today's guest is someone whose voice, platform, and purpose stretch far beyond the field. Marcus Smith is a former NFL first-round draft pick who has transformed his journey from pro football into powerful mission of mental health advocacy, mentorship, and impact. Now a respected sports analyst, life coach, and entrepreneur, Marcus brings a unique blend of lived experience and deep emotional intelligence to every space he enters. Every space. You may have seen him on CNN speaking on subject matters as a subject matter expert on athlete mental health, or standing before Congress in D.C. and New York addressing the rising suicide risk among black men and boys. For locker rooms to legislative rooms, he's using his voice to dismantle stigma and spotlight real solutions. Marcus is also the founder of Circle of M, a movement focused on unmasking mental health struggles in communities that are often expected to stay silent. Through events, wellness expos, partnerships with organizations like the National Action Network and All Points North, and consistent storytelling, Marcus is helping shift the culture. He's appeared on ESPN, Access Hollywood, YouTube TV, The Players Tribune, and has spoken at universities, NFL teams, national conferences, and mental health summits across the country. But more than any title or accolade, Marcus Smith is someone who shows up with heart, truth, and a deep desire to make sure no one suffers in silence. Good to have you with us today, Marcus.
Dang, that was great. Man, I appreciate that.
Hey,
that's
no
what's
problem.
up, man. Thank you for having me, man. It's a great opportunity just to be here, obviously, to talk about what's important to all of us, and just to help break the stigma too.
Yeah, so we go back a couple of years. We met. I came out to your facility where you were training some athletes, and it was a good connection. But that, I think the thing that has kept us connected is that passion for mental health, wanting to see the system changed, right? And so really started this initiative almost a year ago, and you are one of the first people that I kind of had a conversation with, and thus and therefore you are the first guest on our podcast.
I love it.
Yeah, so let's get into it. Let's talk about your story, right? And so you recognize that you kind of dealt with anxiety from a young age. So let's start there. Let's talk about that early anxiety. We're gonna go from that early phase, kind of early before high school phase, and we're gonna shift to college and get to the NFL journey.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, man. So again, appreciate the opportunity. Obviously, my first anxiety attack was when I was 8 years old. My father is sitting right here. He was actually on a date with my mother, and I ended up having an anxiety attack at my grandmother's house, and it was the first time. Nobody kind of knew what it was. I think in our communities, that's not something we look for. Right. That's not something that you go to the hospital for and say, "Hey, man, he's having an anxiety attack." But I was having separation anxiety from my parents not being there for whatever reason at that moment. And I just remember them putting like a blood pressure cuffing on me just to check my blood pressure, but there was no knowledge of what anxiety was at that time. And so that was something that I continuously dealt with all the way moving towards high school, college. But what helped me was being on a football field. Okay. Being on a football field was a safe haven for me, and it was a place kind of peace for me, and I excelled at it. So the anxiety would go away when I would start playing, right? It would come a little bit before, but then it would go away. And after having that attack, I would start having anxiety attacks in my sleep. Some people call them like night terrors or whatever it may be, but I was having them often. I remember one of my best friends, his name is Chauncey Guest. He was staying over the house, and I had woke up in my sleep gasping for air, and he was sitting there looking like, bro, what in the heck is wrong with you, right? But I just think that we just didn't have knowledge or understanding of what it was. So I was just living with it, and I was just trying to push through. So that's a little bit about, my earlier years, where it started, how it started, and, kind of where I am now.
But I mean, man, like 8 years old experiencing that and in a community surrounded by folks that probably didn't understand that. How did you kind of conceptualize what you were dealing with and experiencing?
Yeah, it really wasn't me conceptualize it, or it was really just me masking it, right? And so that's what I did. It was one of those things like, man, we don't talk about it, right? You get on the football field, or it's something that doesn't really bother you, right? It is bothering you, but if you push it to the back of your brain, it won't bother you. But I realized that at a certain point in your life, those things that you push to the back of your brain, or the things that you don't talk about, at some point in your life is going to resurface itself, and you're going to have to address those issues. So, and that point, that's why, I never addressed those issues. And then as I got older, I had to deal with those same things that I didn't realize was affecting me, but it was affecting me as I got higher in my profession.
So it sounds like kind of you started out, you had that attack, and then you found football. Performance started going here, and that anxiety and depression had to go back here. It had to sit in the background of it. And so you were successful in high school. I think you said you started out as a quarterback. You were successful in high school.
I've always been a quarterback since I was 5. My dad would tell you that. That's what he was my coach. That's what position he started me out at, and that's what position I played up until I got to college. And so you got to college. Where'd you attend school? So I went to the University of Louisville for a ride there. My first offer was from University of Florida. So me and my dad, we would always drive back and forth to the University of Florida. We thought that's where I was going. Obviously, my grades were a part of the issue of me not going to Florida. They ended up pulling the scholarship. But because Coach Strong was there, he basically called my dad and was willing to offer me after I came up on a visit. So that's actually how I got to University of Louisville.
Did that anxiety play any role in how you performed academically?
I would say yes, because it started to turn into me not eating. And so, like, I wouldn't eat before practice, or sometimes I wouldn't eat before the game. I remember my sophomore year, I was probably, I want to say 210 in high school. Right. So I'm 6'4", 210. And then my junior year, I dropped to about 199, 200 pounds. But I had this thing where I just didn't have an appetite to eat. And then if I did eat, I would throw it up because my anxiety would be super high. So it kind of, it turned into, it started to affect me on like the field, but not on the field, if you know what I mean. Like, it would affect me before going to the game, but because I was young and vibrant, I could play and be in practice and not have anything on my stomach.
And that's about the whole athlete, right? And so that's one of the keys, is that you can see some of the signs of the anxiety or the depression or the trauma. It's going to show up in different places. And it showed up in how you were able to eat or not eat. It showed up academically. And so these warning signs, kind of highlight kind of what's going on underneath. And in this instance, it had an impact, right? It had an impact on the academics. That had an impact on where you went to school. So that performance continued to rise, and that thing that we thought was in our backpack behind us was right there.
I'm lugging this weight pretty much throughout my whole career.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Like, my dad used to cook me steak. He used to cook me all of these things. And I would be super hungry at night and be ready to eat. But when it comes to before practice or before a game, I would be a vegetable and I wouldn't be able to eat because I felt like, you know, if I ate, I would throw it up.
Right.
And I kind of did that same thing, you know, going into college. So I created those habits that probably weren't the best.
Right.
And then I didn't have anybody to go to kind of sift through like really what that was. I'm thinking football, this is what we got to do.
Right.
Like, I ain't finna go tell my coach,
Right.
you know, I got an issue, I got a problem. He gonna tell me, oh, bro, you better get back in the line. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's the culture that we live in, that we play in, which was the barbaric culture of football.
Yeah. So let's hop back to Louisville. So you on campus, freshman, getting into it, adapting. Kind of tell me what that was like and that experience in college for you.
It was tough. I'm gonna be honest with you. My first, I talked to you about this. So now you got the whole anxiety thing and you pushing through, you making it happen.
Right.
I'm a top athlete. I was happy about that. We were all happy about that. And then now I'm homesick. Right. So that's a whole nother layer of being away from my parents. I'm a quarterback trying to figure it out. Then in camp, my coach comes up to me and says, what you think about playing defense?
Right.
So I'm like,
quarterback.
Yeah, at first.
Right.
I called my dad. I was in camp. I called him. I was like, what you think about me playing defense? He like, well, it's going to put you on the field? I'm like, yeah. He was like, well, I don't see no problem with it. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was my whole perspective going into it. My freshman year, I was a quarterback. You know, I'm thinking I'm going to win Heisman. I'm going through, you know, all of these different perspectives, even with, you know, some of the guys I was with on my team. But my position ended up changing. And that kind of spiraled in a way because I started my first collegiate game at linebacker.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going against UK. First game my parents come up to, and I'm actually starting, not knowing what the heck I'm doing. They just going off of pure ability, you know, pure rawness ability. So, man, I played quarterback, and then they switched my positions.
Right.
That was tough for me, being pancake every day. Right. Having to be a defensive guy.
Right.
I'm not necessarily a defensive guy. I'm more a finesse guy.
Right.
I'm an offensive guy. Right. But I use my athletic ability on a defensive side, and it was super tough for me to get over that hump.
Yeah, but let's pause and circle back so we won't miss an opportunity here.
Yeah.
Is that homesickness?
Yeah.
But if we break down that homesickness, there was probably a degree of grounding that you got in the evenings, right? You said you were able to eat in the evening, but not before the game. So you had some grounding to help you deal with that anxiety, but that grounding's gone because ain't nobody gonna be like Pops in the afternoon at school. You had to get the schoolwork done. You were around. So part of that, what we would call homesickness, was a disconnected from the place where you were connected, that grounding that you had growing up that didn't help. And so you had to figure out probably new ways to mask it.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
I found new ways to mask what I was dealing with, whether that was with girls, whether that's stuff that could just buy my time.
Right.
And I ain't have to think about it anymore, right? And I think what helped me, and God works in mysterious ways, was that, you know, I was having trouble with school. And because I was having trouble with school, like, I was trying to find every chance to get home.
Right.
My dad was like, you don't need to come home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You need to stay up there. You need to, you know, focus on what you got to focus on. But because I was struggling in school, Coach Strong, our head coach at the time, he made us stay at school during May. Usually college athletes, they get the whole month of May off.
Right.
He made me stay at school, and that's what actually helped me stop being homesick.
Right.
Now, it didn't take away the pain all the way.
Right.
But it still helped me in that moment.
Yeah. So what did those panic attacks look like at the collegiate level? Kind of, you know, you in the room, you got a roommate, you doing things, other people can notice, right? So what did they look like at the college level?
So I remember specifically kind of similar, but just a tad bit difference. I had a roommate. His name was Jared Davis, and I was in a room. And this time, instead of me waking up gasping for air, I would wake up screaming. And now I'm in, like, if my room is to the right, I'm walking down, and I'm now in the common area, but I'm not knowing where I'm at.
Oh wow!
Right, so my roommate was like, "You good, bro?" Right. You know, he asked me, "You good?" Right. But then I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good," but I'm not realizing what I just did. I woke up screaming, walked down the hallway, because you kind of still halfway asleep. Right. So it kind of turned into that. Right. And I started having those frequently, but I just thought, man, maybe it's just because I found a way to just deal with it. Right. So I thought that, okay, maybe that's just the way I am. Right. Maybe that's just what I'm dealing with. I ain't even have a name to it. Right. No, nothing. I didn't go talk to our trainers about it. I didn't go talk to my coaches about it, because in my mind, I'm like, I'm still performing. Right. I'm still doing what I need to do. Done. You know what I mean? But then also me changing positions, right? Yeah. I'm playing on the defensive line now, because I started off as a linebacker, playing on the defensive line now. That was super tough because I had to go up against 300 pounders. Ooh, yeah. I was 220. Right. And then they made me gain 30 pounds in the matter of a month. Yeah. So I ain't never ran with this weight, no nothing. So honestly, I thought I was just doing terrible. Right. And I wanted to quit. I wanted to be done. I called my dad, called my mom, like, bro, like, I'd rather just go to another school and play quarterback. Right. So that was the depressed state of, that's when depression started to creep in, because now I'm at a school that I wanted to go to, but nothing is going the way that I want it to be. I'm still having my anxiety attacks. Don't know how to deal with them just yet. Don't know exactly what it is, so I'm just not going to talk about it. And then now my position gets changed, and I'm not doing as well as I thought I could at this position. Now I'm depressed. Right.
So when that performance slipped, it doubled down on it. Yep. And a lot of athletes experience that for the first time with injury. Right. Because it's not necessarily a change of position. It is, I can't run on this knee because it's jacked up for a period of time. Right. And so those again, it ties back into performance. Performance is the measure of how I'm doing. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. So then you get through and you figure it out. And now we talking about going to the league. Like the dream of any young kid that has played a sport is to get to the pro level with it in some way, shape, or form. And there's very few that are able to do that. So you are threading this needle on the way to the league. What's going through? I mean, there's already going to be nerves and anxiety with the combine and all that stuff. Where are you at this time?
Well, I mean, when you look at it, one of the things that helped me after having a conversation with my dad, my mom, about staying in school, sticking with it, my coach ended up pulling me to the side. And he was like, I need you to stick with it because you're going to make a lot of money playing this position one day. Right. And I think that was the confidence I needed right then at that point in time. Even though I hadn't addressed some of the real issues, it kind of pushed me, it propelled me forward. And I was still in college and still a young pup, so I could still play at a high level with these issues and it not affect me like that. Still didn't have a therapist, still didn't have any of those things, and I just made it happen. So I exploded on the scene, had 14 and a half sacks my senior year, right? And then now I'm preparing for the combine and things of that nature, but these issues still haven't addressed. Got drafted first round to the Philadelphia Eagles, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into, right? I'm just thinking like, okay, I made it. Right. I didn't even think about what was the next step after that. Right. I got to perform now. Right. So all of those things that we talked about now is I'm carrying that on top of having to perform, doing my best for my coaches, right? And the only way that I can further my career is if I perform at a high level. Right. I think for me, going into it, like I had my first game, I did well, like my first preseason game, it was in Chicago. And then the second game against Tom Brady, I did terrible. You know what I'm saying?
It's hard got a sack.
Yeah, I mean, like it was both of them.
Quick.
It's like I forgot who was the second string quarterback at the time, but we was practicing against Tom Brady the whole week, and I swear to you, like not one ball hit the ground. Like he was. It was like watching, because I remember, watching Super Bowl, like growing up, like he's been playing in the league since 2001.
Right.
It's 2014, and you still in the league. You know what I'm saying? So it's being culture shock, but also now I got the baggage with me. Right. Now I'm dealing with the critics.
Yeah.
I got a microphone in my face every single day because you got practice and you got the game. So they asking me, if you ain't playing well, oh man,
they about to have a conversation.
They gonna have a conversation. Then it's somebody that's on the side that is kind of having a conversation with you, but they got a recorder like tucked away, man.
Yeah.
And so that is the stuff that I was dealing with. So you can imagine, like, okay, I got all this stuff.
Right.
Now I'm dealing with this. Okay, where am I? Where am I at?
Right. Because I already got the anxiety.
Yeah.
Now I got legitimate anxiety to be added to it and everything else. You get the media. You got social media, right? So folks on there tearing you up, being critical. Oh, you supposed to be a first round pick.
And you suck, man.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, if you think about kind of where guys are in the league nowadays, some of that's happening earlier because with the NIL deals, when that money comes on board, you're talking about college athletes dealing with that now. And gambling too, right? I bet X, Y, and Z on you, and you're going to go out there and do nothing on the field. You're like, yo, you don't know what I'm dealing with for real.
For real, yeah. Guys, even when you talk about the NIL, guys they're doing deals with NIL companies or the collective, if you will, and they get hurt and they like, nope, we ain't paying you. You know what I'm saying? So, like even in the league, you at least get half of your pay.
Right, a little something. Yeah, man. And so you playing in the league.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end of your time in the league.
Yeah.
Tell me about that transition of being in the league, being that first round pick, and then coming to that realization that, hey, maybe this might be over.
Yeah. I feel my first 3 years with the Eagles was tough. I had 1 year that was pretty solid, I would say, but it still wasn't good enough. Right. And so the Eagles end up coming to me saying, hey man, I want you to take a pay cut. We're gonna see about next year. And I wouldn't. So I knew that they was gonna cut me in August, right? They cut me all the way to the last bit because they didn't want anybody to pick me up in OTAs. That's how the NFL works. They try to slight you like that. But they didn't realize that, the God I serve is more powerful than they are. So I ended up getting back with my coach from college who taught me everything about defense and how to play the defensive line. So my career was actually going in the right direction. But again, I still never addressed those issues that we talked about since I was 8.
Yeah.
So my career is going in the right direction. I'm playing in Seattle. I ended up making more money in Seattle than I did. So my fourth year, I was supposed to make like $1 million and something from the Eagles. I ended up making like 1.2, 1.3 with the Seattle Seahawks because I had to actually make the team. And so my first day there, I was killing, right? And I was going through, but then I started having those same issues, not being able to eat, not being able to sleep, thinking weed is gonna solve my problems, help me, sleep and things of that nature. And it just wasn't doing it for me. So because I didn't address those issues, that following year, I signed another 1 year deal with them. And I go to camp and I had the same issues. And that's when the whole suicidal thing happened because I just felt like, bro, I'm in pain and I don't know what this is. I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know who to talk to about it. My wife was pregnant at the time. Couldn't call I didn't want to call I didn't want to just put that on anybody for real of what I was feeling because first of all, the way that people look at it, they like, man, bro, you are playing something that everybody would love or dream to be playing. Like, how can you possibly have any issues? But I was having issues and I just didn't have a name to it and I couldn't figure out what it was. So I just felt like end of my life was like the best way to end the pain, and that's even having a relationship with God. Like that's how far I got, because of me not being able to sleep, man. If you can just imagine, like trying to be at your best, and you can't sleep and you can't perform at your highest level, and you know that it's taking a toll on you. So
I mean, I appreciate, I understand that challenge, right? I mean, that's part of why this company is being built, right? Because in that silence and darkness, that's where lives are being lost.
Yeah.
Because there's no system to communicate what I haven't even learned how to communicate in the first place. So I don't know how to communicate it.
Yeah.
And there's no system that I'm going to speak into that I feel like is going to hear me. And so my answer is, or my thoughts get to be, well, what if I'm not here anymore? That might solve the problem, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, I have a legitimate problem that people might deal with, that anxiety, depression, and everything
you
else.
Always think you're alone too.
Yeah, get the help. And you think you're alone, but that's why these conversations are helpful.
Yeah.
Because there's other athletes that are here. There's maybe early in their career, there's parents, there's coaches, but this is not something that is uncommon, right? You have suicide as the number 2 cause of death for NCAA athletes. Now you talk about the ones that you don't know about. Now you talk about what's happening in high school, the pressure that goes with it. This system is we want to say broken, but it was never meant to deal with this.
Yeah.
Right? The system has to be changed. It has to be shifted. And so we talk about the resilience gap, right? That is the space between push through and breakdown, right? Where we don't have the tools that we need. We try and push through, but we don't have the tools that we need. So was there a moment where you were still performing, but quietly unraveling underneath that I was never trained for this moment? And even as I ask the question, I can identify them, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think for me, that 5th year in the league for me, and you would think that my career is going in the right direction on the outside looking in, but the unraveling moment was when I couldn't sleep the way that I need to. I was having the anxiety attacks. That anxiety ended up turning into depression. Didn't know that's what it was. I went to my coach, and he kind of asked me, like, "You good, man? What's wrong with you?" And I had bags under my eyes. I wasn't really sleeping well. And I think that was the moment where, I get in my car, I start to drive, and obviously because of my wife and my mother-in-law, because of the 2 phone calls, I didn't. Right, I didn't do what I wanted to do. Right, obviously those were the people in my life at the time and still are in my life. But at that moment, I didn't really have. I realized that I didn't have the fortitude or the knowledge to be able to sift through some of that pain or sift through some of the issues. So I wish I would have had a team of people around me. I wish I would have had somebody like you to kind of help me rationalize, bro, what is this? Right? And I didn't. And so that's why I'm an advocate now. That's why I'm a life coach now, because I want people to understand a person like you, right? Because a lot of us, we don't go in the therapy room because somebody doesn't look like us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how many people can you find that are therapists that look like me and you? Right. And that's one of the barriers. I'm like, bro, ain't no way this guy gonna be able to understand me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's one of the barriers, and I just wish that I could have had that, because if I would have had a team, you already got your parents, right? But I say, the people that love you the most, you got your wife, that's a team right there. But then it's just like you having a barber. You got your favorite church. You got, your favorite restaurant. But we don't got our favorite therapist. So, but we do everything backwards.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think it's, you need that maintenance, right? You go in and get a physical for your body. I got a good friend of mine. He called me up. He's like, hey, my doctor said that I should get a physical. hit the dentist up regularly, and check in with the therapist once a year. You got somebody that I could talk to for that, because we don't do that maintenance, right?
Yeah.
But if we go back and we look at the system and how it was never built for this, this is something that, had your parents had the language and knowledge about, could have identified that at 8. That's something that you could have got the tools and resources to deal with at 8, that you could have dealt with in high school, that if a coach would have seen it and understood it, he could have supported you in it. When you got to college, a coach could have seen that, understood it. Somebody could have pointed you and helped. Now, flashback, what does this whole career look like? If you're getting the support that you need, and you know that language from a young age, you know that in college, you know that when you get there, you're like, hey, I need to see a therapist. Maybe I need to do some medication. Maybe I need something to help me sleep. So now you on the Seahawks getting regular sleep on a consistent basis.
Because I got the knowledge now.
Right. That looks a lot different in performance. And so in some sense, dreams can get cut short by not dealing with the mental health. If we're dealing with it, different outcomes come out of that.
I agree. I think that if there is education behind it earlier, especially with how the world is going, I think that you'll have less people, have these suicide situations.
Absolutely.
Right? You're obviously, you talk about Marshawn Kneeland. That was in the NFL. That happened this past year. But I also feel like, our parents, they didn't really have time to think about their mental health, because they was always trying to work twice as hard to get ahead.
Right.
So I honestly feel for them, because, they passed on to us what they had to deal with. And it was not that they, wanted to, but it was just what they had to deal with growing up. So, we just have to unpack that now and kind of change the narrative.
Absolutely. So some takeaways that I have for athletes. You can't out-train what you don't talk about. Build a mental rep routine, 5 minutes a day to check in with yourself. Journal, pray, breathe, or talk to someone you trust. Strength starts with self-awareness. For parents, support can't be heard if it's only measured in wins. Once a week, ask your athlete how they're doing, not just how they're playing. Don't assume silence means strength. Validate the person before the performance. Acknowledge their feelings and let them know it's okay to not be okay. Ask your kids who they are outside of sports. Help them build their identity. For coaches, you train bodies, skills, and performance. Start shaping culture. Build a 10-minute mental reset into the week. No drills, no stats, just space to breathe, check in, and be human. Culture shifts start with what you normalize, right? So going back to that identity, from that young age playing sports, you were a football player. In high school, you were a football player. College, you're a football player. NFL, you are a football player of football players. And now your career is over. And you no longer a football player. What was that like? Like, when did you have that moment of like, dang, man, that's it?
Man, it's an identity crisis for sure, because you think you're going to be playing forever. And that's not the case at all. And it might get cut short.
Absolutely.
Earlier than you want to. So I think I end up, after the whole suicide thing, I went and got help for the first time, which was probably the best thing that I could ever do, right? I was able to see my daughter born, because they released me so I could keep my money, thank God. So they if they would have put me on a retired resentment list, I would have had to give money back. They was like, I don't want you to have to give money back. So they allowed me to go get the help that I need. That's Pete Carroll, y'all. So
appreciate
Pete
that.
Carroll's he's a player's coach for sure.
For sure.
But after that, I was able to sign with the Redskins, and I played with them for the rest of the year. That year, signed back with them, ended up getting released after my 6th year, and I didn't get called for the whole year.
Wow.
And the Indianapolis Colts called me. I could have went and played with the Indianapolis Colts. I said no, because I wanted to be done on my own terms. And I was ready to start my next chapter, but I'm like, I don't know what my next chapter is. So having to find myself, find out who the real Marcus Smith is, find out what I like outside of sports.
Right.
And, that was a tough process for me. I had to go to a treatment facility. I went to a treatment facility, the one that I work with now at APN. A lot of players go there just to find themselves and really do the work. And the whole process of the identity, man, it was a crisis for me. And I had a family too, right?
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of men deal with this, they're on the football field, but when they're finished or if their season ends abruptly, right, or they're, if they get done before they want to, now you got to insert yourself back into your family. Yeah. You know what I mean? So now you figuring out, okay, where do I fit in this family, right?
And to your family, you daddy, you husband, right?
Right.
And you still expected to fulfill those roles.
Right. I'm used to being gone.
Right.
So I don't know, what the kids like, what they don't like, what I'm saying? Like my daughter at that time, I think one of the things that helped me was just doing bath time with her, getting that time with her or whatever. But when I went back and I had to do camp and all that, like once I was finished, I really had to try to figure it out. And I think mentally that takes a toll, because as a man, if you don't know what your purpose is, you don't really have a soul, because as a man, you want to know what that is. And if you can't figure it out, it takes a toll on you mentally.
Yeah. And so I talk about, and you kind of highlight, it has to be referred to and dealt with as grieving. Who I am is no longer here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Regardless of what level of athlete. Maybe it's an injury that takes it from you. Maybe it's, you get cut from the league. Maybe you stop playing on your own terms and rely on that. I'm no longer him. I'm no longer that dude. The thing that everybody knows me by, the guy that I've been, I'm no longer that guy. And so then it's just, okay, well, let's transition to the next thing.
Yeah.
But there's never any grieving. And I think that shows up in youth sports, because you see it in a lot of dads who try to live vicariously through their kids. Yeah. Right? It shows up because I've talked to a number of guys that have opened training facilities and everything else. And I've heard the conversation, man, I didn't know who I was or what I was going to do. I thought about taking my life, but giving back is one of the things that I did. And it's how you develop that identity. And that's why I tell parents, you have to have conversations with your kids. Who are you outside of sports? You have to be able to be somebody outside of just the sport, or else you find yourself lost and just grieving.
Yeah. I think now I understand that I didn't really give myself the proper time to just sit and try to figure out. I was just trying to move on to the next. And, sometimes you do stuff that, has it has nothing to do with what God has purpose for. Right. And now you find yourself just on a journey and you're doing something that you don't really love doing. Right. You know what I mean? Because you love football. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I used to love basketball too. Right. But you can't go back and play basketball. That's over with. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, maybe I should coach. Yeah. I ain't the coaching guy.
Right. But that's not it is some guys. Right. It's not gonna be other guys. Right. And so you find something else to pour into. And so right now you have the Circle of M. So tell me about the Circle of M.
So back in 2020, after I was finished playing, after I went to treatment and all those things, I went back into the locker room, went back to Seattle, and I was able to go in the locker room and talk to some of my teammates, Tyler Lockett, B. Wags, Russell Wilson, and they talked about me walking away at that point in time, right? And they said that at that point, bro, I was dealing with what you was dealing with. Some of them really kind of confined in me, I should say, and kind of was telling me some of the stuff that they were dealing with because I was open and I was honest about, like, yo, my mental health is more important than this game. Right. And so that's why I started the Circle of M, because I realized that my voice mattered. And the more that I speak about it, the more people I'm going to help. So the Circle of M started in 2020, and I started off with strictly awareness. Like, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be on every stage. I'm going to be on every platform, and I'm going to talk about my story to people to help them, not only just the athletes, but the regular, average, everyday person, because they look up to the athletes.
Yeah.
So if I can tell my story to someone who looks up to us, maybe they will take somebody like you serious and go into that therapy room and get the healing that they desire. So that's all we do now is we do a lot of awareness, and after the awareness piece, 2 years into it, I started partnering with the people that I had relationships with. So now we help other guys get into treatment, get to the therapy. So we are a bridge to helping guys and helping people get the healing that they desire.
Absolutely. And that's why it was so natural and organic when we started talking, because we hopped on the Zoom call and talked about it, and it was like we to fix the system.
Yeah.
We got to start earlier.
Yeah.
We have to get earlier. We have to jump into that athletic ecosystem, start earlier. And we're targeting high school, college kids to bring an awareness, to start having the conversation, to have the language, to be able to communicate, to train parents and coaches to see the signs, right? So that this thing of mental health and mental wellness, it hides in darkness and silence. And when you start talking about it, so many people are like, hey, I'm dealing with that too.
Yeah.
So that makes this conversation super important, because we have to have it. We have to keep talking about it so that more people see that it's not the boogeyman that you say its name 3 times and, and everything's going to fall apart.
It's not
actually
scary.
Right. You got to get in it. And man, it's so enlightening sometimes to get and have conversations with it, right? It becomes easier the more you have the conversation, right?
Yeah, it does. It's freeing.
Yeah.
The more I speak, the more I free myself. Yeah. So you think that I'm talking about my story, but I'm really freeing myself every time I talk about it. So there's this stigma when you go into therapy or when you talk to someone that they gonna tell you something about yourself. You don't want them to say anything. No, it ain't like that.
Right.
But that's the stigma going into it. But really, it's really just you talking through your own stuff.
Right.
And the therapist there to help guide you through that. And if you could talk through it, then you start to understand, like, wow, like, I didn't even know that I even had words for that, but now I do. Yeah. Now I feel free from it.
Yeah, I tell everybody, like, as a therapist, that my superpower is listening. Yeah. Like, if you think of your day-to-day life, how many people take the time to sit down for 45 minutes to an hour and just listen to you?
Yeah. Because I swear, I be emotional dump. I'm talking about everything.
Yeah, and some people, they hear it and they, let me tell you my story, let me tell you this. But sitting in therapy is just a space for somebody to sit down and listen to you. And part of what I do, I tell people, is I take your story, I take your fragments, I take your perspective, and I try to help you paint a picture. Yeah. And then correct the picture. Yeah. Right? Find the tools and resources to paint the picture that you want it to be, instead of just letting the picture be painted for you. Yeah. Right? That dark and gloomy, cloudy, heavy picture. Let's put some sunshine in it. Right? Yeah. Let's bring some light to it. And it's really about giving you the tools to be able to go and perform. Yeah. Go and execute. Go and move forward. Right? Yeah. And so you don't think of it in the terms of performance, but mental health can buoy your performance, your ability to go out and do the thing that you love to do, and prepare you for what happens when that comes to an end. And so I really appreciate you taking the time and us sitting down. And so those lessons that we want to make sure that we learn: stigma, it's real, but it can be broken. Identity, who are you beyond the uniform? And help seeking, asking is strength, not weakness. Yeah. Silence allows all of this stuff to hide and will break you in that space. But we have to get out. We have to have the conversations. We have to shine a bright light on it. So, Marcus, I appreciate you. I thank you for your time. Anything you want to say before we wrap up? Anything you need to plug? Make sure you highlight.
Man, you can find me on Instagram, moneymark91, obviously thecircleofm.com if you want to see some of our updates and the things that we're doing in the community and, who we're partnering with. But, I just really just want to say, thank you for the opportunity. Anytime that I get to speak or shed light, I don't take that lightly. Sure. So I appreciate you, and kudos to you for, building the platform to help people like myself and understand what it is to be healed and what it looks like to be healed. So No, appreciate you again, and guys out there, hey, the more you speak, the more you free yourself.
Yeah.
Whatever's burdening you, whatever that you're dealing with, hey, if you talk about it, you'll feel so much better when you actually speak to someone about it or speak about it.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Excellent. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate having you. You guys will see the logo more and more. Copious Life SI Sports Initiative. That SI, suicidal ideation. It is where it starts. It is that warning sign that something's not okay. And we want to do our level best as an organization to reduce suicidal ideation, to get to athletes before they get to this point. And so that's why our logo looks the way that it is. We want to be able to get rid of that suicidal ideation. And that starts with awareness, having the conversations, tools, and resources to be able to address that. And so follow CLSI on Instagram at CLSI.life. Share this episode because it is not hyperbole. You can legitimately save a life by bringing this conversation that hits an athlete that's able to get that help and support before they get to that crunch time of thinking about taking their own life. Visit the link in the show notes, and together we can close the resilience gap. Together we can educate and inform athletes, parents, coaches, and change the athletic ecosystem. That's what we're here to do. Thank you so much for joining us today.